Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Callie, also known as Calsters.
And I'm Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
Today is Sunday, January 24th, 2016, and this is episode 241.
If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more week. And if you're new, hopefully you enjoyed today's show. If you're a returning viewer, you'll notice that we switched up the beginning.
We did.
I made Callie start the show because she's always tells me that she would mess it up. So she had done a dry run before we hit record, and I said, well, you're taking it. And she's like, no. And I said, yes. And that was our awesome conversation. So anyway, how was your week? Hopefully it was good. Mine was just okay. Monday, I had off. That was nice. Got a lot of dyeing done. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then taught all week, and it's just one day after another, one foot in front of the other, right? There were a couple days I was like, oh, really don't want to go in. But I was good. We got some snow on, when did we get snow?
It was Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy's actually been traveling for work and going to different stores for his new position the past couple of weeks, and he has to do another week. And he went to take some country roads to go out to this particular store, and he turned around and called off, and he's like, I'm taking a snow day, I can't even see the road. So I was like, well, they didn't call off school. So, and I do have a four-wheel drive truck now. Granted, I drove with the four-wheel the first time ever on Wednesday. I didn't notice a difference. I don't really know what it does, but whatever. So I was like, no, I'm going to go into work. And then I was like, I don't want to be here. Plus, at least in the school that I teach in, if that parent feels like there should be a snow day or there's snow on the ground and they feel like they don't really want to take their kid to school, they just go, I'm going to call them in. Or not call them in. And
let you guys wonder.
So, but I did teach all week. And I'll be teaching all this week, the full week. But it's going to be a boring week because we have to do some mandated testing online, and then it won't take the kids the whole hour. So I'm like, well, I've got to find something for them to do. And then we are responsible for the makeup exams for all the kids who aren't there to do on Monday and Tuesday. We have to give them makeups on Thursday and Friday, so we have to have like a project for kids to do individually on Thursday and Friday. If they already took the test. But at least it's low stress for me, for the most part. It's stressful getting them into the test, and then it's fine. But that's pretty much about it. I've got a faculty meeting on Tuesday this week. And then we have a half day. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up.
It's almost halfway.
Through the semester?
Yep. I said
almost. We're almost a quarter. Actually, the end of this week will be a quarter of the way through the semester. Because it'll be 4 weeks-ish. So, a little less than a quarter because it's 18 weeks. So,
yeah.
But, how was your week?
My week has been very, very busy. And I have spent most of it in my car. So, I'm not like homeless or anything if you're a new time viewer. I just want to say that. But it has felt like I have slept in my car. But anyways, so Monday I also had off because of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so I met a friend of mine from college, and we went for lunch and shopping, and that was a good time to catch up. And then Tuesday and Wednesday I had an all-team conference in Champaign-Urbana at the U of I for my job. And it was your kind of average conference, so we're going to leave it at that. But it was kind of fun because on the second day, our director was so cute. She was like, this is going to be a long day, and I know you guys are going to get bored and fidgety. And so they got like these huge variety packs of like toys, like they were like straight up boxes, and it was like fidget toys, so like Play-Doh, like squish balls, like, and everything. And I actually brought mine because I I actually did not see this was an option, and my coworker did, and she was like, hey, are you going to go around asking, because I got a chicken stress ball, and she was like, there's a sheep one. So I conned one of my coworkers from a different county into giving me their sheep. So
totally adorable.
It is. And then we got these cute little things of Play-Doh. So I was really happy about that. And it was definitely nice because, and then I think it was nice that our director was like, I know this portion is going to suck. So, because she used to, before she took this job, she was actually in our position for 10 years, I believe. So it's kind of nice to have someone that knows what it's like to sit there on our side. And then Thursday I had my leadership class. Friday I had it came into work late, but we had our teen federation meeting, and so that it was a board game night. And they had pizza and pop, so super healthy in all forms. And then they played a game of Killer Sardines, which I'm not for sure if you're familiar with, but if you aren't, basically it's like hide and go seek meets the Mafia, if you've ever played that game, with cards, and each card is represented by something, like you're either the murderer, the victim, or whatever. And then so my coworker and I monitored that game. I'm going to leave that at that too. And then yesterday I went down to my alma mater because there was a memorial service for one of my professors, and met with friends for lunch in the afternoon, and then drove back. Didn't get in till about like 10 or so. And like, it's not super late, but when you spent most of your whole entire work week on the road anyways, it was pretty late. So other than that, it was pretty good. This week I've got a lot of really cool things coming up. Busy week. Gonna be leading a meeting tomorrow, and filing taxes for my 4-H club.
Fun.
Yes. Facilitating a workshop. And then on Tuesday, I'm really excited because I'm joining a CSA, and they're having their information night on Tuesday night. For, if you're not familiar with a CSA, I think it's crop sharing, and I don't know what the A stands for. Sorry. I don't. But anyways, it's basically you sign up for, and every CSA is a little differently. The way this one is set up is that it is a collection of farmers that will offer a variety of produce every week over the course of 22 weeks, and it's $450 for the entire season. So for 22 weeks, that breaks down to a little over $20 a week of fresh produce, and it's all locally farmed. It's organic. There's no, like, you know what's in it. And it's kind of a neat system because there's 11 farms in this particular CSA. So when you join, how it works is you'll go to their pickup stop, and they'll say you get X amount of these, 1 of these, 3 of these, and then they have a dump table. So, like, I'm not a huge fan of kale, so if kale was in the basket, you know, I'd take some. But if I, like, let's say we were able to get 3 bunches of kale, and maybe I only want 1 bunch of kale for smoothies and that kind of thing for that week, then I could put my 2 bunches there and trade it with someone that maybe have, like, 2 bunches of radishes, because I like radishes. So I'm really excited. Friends of mine actually started it, so it'll be good, and I need to eat more fruits and veggies. So this one is going to be fruits and veggies, because there's a couple of farmers in the CSA that actually have fruit bearing trees or plants or shrubs. So I'm really excited about it.
Cool.
And it's a really cool way to support small business. So.
Well, knitting is entering the show here. So, before we get started with what's taking about this week, I do want to mention, I tried to plan to wear something on the show, because I hardly ever wear my knitwear. I know. But, pulled this out of my bag o' knits, and this, if you have been a long-time viewer, you may remember, this is one of my simple garter stitch boomerangs knit out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Show Stealer in the Anne's Story colorway. So, thought I'd jazz it up a little bit with a little knitwear.
Very cool.
So, what's taking a bow this week? I have two things, and Kelly has something.
I have something.
So do you want to go back and forth?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I finished my last commission knit for the local alpaca farm. I didn't think it was going to happen this week. I was like, I said it was, but then...
Then you got into it.
Well, then I was working on the other thing I finished because
Yeah.
I thought I had less time than I did to get it done. But then
Gotcha.
I realized I had a whole nother week potentially, so I was like working on that for like 3 days. And then I was like, oh, I don't need to finish it this week. And then I ended up finishing it today, but that'll be next. But I finished the Mix It Up by Jana Huck using local alpaca that's been mill spun to a fingering weight. The white is their natural, and the other one is dyed up in our blue steel colorway. It's not as long as I thought it would be, but it's got some heft. So you can see here, this is just 1/2. Yep. And then, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the center. And then all the way over here. So it's about a little over 1,000 yards of yarn. It's not very deep, but it will be warm. But it's very long, but it could almost be wrapped as like a shrug almost and tied in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It can be wrapped several times around. So I don't even know if I'm going to block it because I don't want to make it much bigger. You would get less of this kind of ridge, I think, if you blocked it. But I'm like, So I may just hand it off next time I go to Bloomington. I need to get pictures of it. It took me about 4 months, so it's a lot of knitting.
Yeah.
Very long rows. And they're really only half rows because you're doing the two colors. So, but if you're going to be doing a lot of mindless knitting or you don't mind long rows, I would recommend it. So. And it's an interesting new technique, a new look, but nothing too challenging. And they're short rows with wraps and turns, but you don't have to pick up the wraps. So,
Nice.
that's that.
I finished the Edison shawl, and I knit it with size 7 US, and I used 3 different colorways of Madeline Tosh DK. And the gray is Asteroid Gray. This lighter blue is Button Jar Blue, and this darker blue is Norway Spruce. I really like how it came out. It's a lot wider, or not wider, but the bottom part I did not think would take up as much yarn as it did. I'll be real honest, when I finally, when I was finished with the bind off, I only had about 8 inches of yarn left. And I didn't think it would eat up this much yarn, but math has not always been my strong subject. So, and I had mentioned it last week, the only thing I don't like, and I haven't washed or blocked this by any means, but I don't like this curling part. So I had said last week that I might do it the way Sheila did it from Knit One Heart 2 podcast. If you aren't watching their podcast, you should really start that. But I was kind of saying that, I would do it in garter, but I think that if I were to do it again, I would just do this gray part up here in garter and then do the stripes that way.
And that's what I was telling you, because I really like the look of stockinette, especially stripes with stockinette. I love how they almost look like puzzle pieces that fit together. Mm-hmm. The V's, especially at a larger gauge like this. Yeah. And I think, I don't know.
Well, and it really balances out at the bottom because of the weight from the garter part of it. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so I'm not giving anything away. But yeah, I like the weight of it. It is definitely hefty. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to get this done during our all-team meeting because I was knitting while we were having conference. Mm-hmm. And I didn't, so that's okay. But I finished it on Friday, right after I came home from my event. So I really like this. I give this pattern 2 thumbs up, and I would highly recommend it, especially if you want the look of Color Affection by Vera Vacamali, but don't want to do short rows. So.
And at a bigger gauge.
Yeah.
But you got that done really quick for yourself, so.
Yeah, I got it done in about 3 weeks. So.
Nice. Yeah. Love your color combination.
Thank you. That was courtesy of Yarn Hoarder, aka Amber.
I finished second object today. I finished my SSK knit along for December, January. They were doing a knit along for one of their teachers, which is Romy Hill, or Rosemary Hill. And we just looked up, and the next one is going to be Baby Cocktails. So, we'll see. We were looking at the patterns. But anyway, I knit the Miss Wiss by Romy Hill out of Knit Picks palette in the J colorway and Leading Men Fiber Arts Show Stealer in a Director's Interpretation, a one of a kind. I did the medium size because according to the yardage requirements on the pattern, I would not have enough of the Leading Men Fiber Arts to do the larger size. That was a big lie. I don't know whether... I didn't do a gauge swatch. I don't know whether it's the type of yarn. I don't know if this Knit Picks palette played a part. But I only used half of what I had of the Leading Men Fiber Arts and the Knit Picks palette. I have a whole ball of the Knit Picks palette left over. So this looks really small. I have not blocked it because I just finished it today. But I'll show you it does stretch. So we'll see how much I can block it to within an inch of its life. So here it is. So altogether, I think, what did we look? It was like 448 yards.
Yep.
So it doesn't look very big. Though, you know, for a guy... I was telling Callie, I was like, I could wear this under my jacket, almost like a boomerang or a dickie. But look how stiff the Knit Picks palette is. I've never used palette before. But, I mean, it just stands up. And this was knit on a 3, so maybe that's why. But it'd be nice to be warm. But yeah, it's got some room for me. But it will stretch. So I can get it to stretch, you know, my arm, my wingspan. So, but then of course, you know, if I want to make it deeper or whatnot. So, I don't think I'd started on this side last week, but I've got this lace section, which looks better with the white background. It's kind of hard to see the pattern in person because it's done in garter. But again, once you open it up. So, overall, I enjoyed the pattern. This blue section is done in garter, but done purl-wise. And then it's got a purled I-cord bind-off up here at the top. And, okay, good. Sorry, the screensaver went on and I thought it froze the picture. I think it called for something like that as a bind-off, and I did like 2 stitches. I was like, nope, ain't nobody got time for that. So I did my normal suspended bind-off on the edge, because you actually finish off this edge and then you pick up where you've been knitting. And then I did leave all these stitches on a spare needle, which made it super easy to just bind off, or, you know, knit across them and then bind everything off. So there's a tip for that. I don't know. I'm kind of like, meh. But like I said, I may donate this to SSK so for their specialty door prize, to raise funds for charity, for the Scarrett Bennett Center. So we'll see. I don't know. But I'll show it to you again next week when it's blocked. But I actually do like the color combination together. I think it is rather nice. So that was knit on a size 3 and 4 US needle. Alright, what's performing this week? I have a couple of things.
Just a few.
Well, actually, just a few because I finished those 2 things.
Oh.
So, and I haven't cast anything on yet. The first thing is my Portage sweater by Melissa Shiswari. I'm using a Elspeth Lavold silky wool in color number 65, which is spruce, and size 5, 6, and 7 US. Now, I finished the decreases on my sleeve, my first sleeve, and I actually tried the sleeve on. It's really fitted, which I like because I plan on wearing this with like just a plain gray t-shirt underneath it. But it was just kind of like I could get room in there, but it was fitted on my arm, and it came to about the 3/4 length. Sorry, I'm not gonna hit you. 3/4 length. But you do knit 4 inches. So I had kind of quickly measured, and I think I want to add like another 1.5 inches. It says to go to 16 inches. I don't even know how much I have here, and you need to measure that. But I think I'm going to add about another 1.5 inches straight, and then I'll start with the ribbing. You do 4 inches of ribbing, do a purl row, and another 4 inches that you fold back so the cuff is double thick. So the end is in sight, but I haven't gotten that push to just go hardcore on it. I know I should, but I really would like to have this done for Knitting Pipeline at the end of next month. So that's that. I'll be excited to show you that once, to wear it on the show when it's done. The second thing I'm working on is the Totally Tubular Year in Review cowl for 2015. I'm using a Year in Review set by Leading Men Fiber Arts in our Show Stealer base. And I worked on this while watching a movie last night, which I'll talk about later. But I'm in the 8th color. I have 2 more to go, but I've come up with a plan as well, because I'm not happy with the total length yet. So here are the 8 colors that I've worked in the orders that they appeared in 2015. So again, we have Beanstalk, Masquerade, Punk Rock Highlights, Boyhood, OMG Squee, Venetian Sunset, Mornings in the Backyard, Kaleidoscope, which I'm kind of loving how it's knitting up. Mm-hmm. I knew I would, but I love that pixelated. We don't have anything like it. This was the first time we tried this technique, and then we did it 2 in a row, so the next one will be like this too. But right now I only have 2 more to add, and it's not gonna... It's going to be relatively tight. So what I think I'm going to do is I have a short skein, 200 and some odd yards, I think, of Show Stealer in London Fog at gray. And if I would have had the forethought, I should have put the gray in between all the colors. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, hopefully-ish, do the gray and then kind of have like this color piece sit forward. Mm-hmm. And kind of be an accent, and then the part that's actually touching your neck will just be in the gray. So that's my plan with that. And I'm using a size 4, I want to say. Yep, 3.5 millimeter on this. So it's a wild and crazy cowl. So I have 2 more colors to add on to that before I get to the London Fog. Next are my Shamrockin' socks. I'm using Knitterly Things Vesper sock yarn in the Shamrockin' colorway. I finished the first sock minus the heel. I'm on the second sock. I'm knitting these on a size 1 US 2 circulars, which is a 2.25 millimeter. And here it is, a little bit longer than last week. I put in the Thought heel line, the ripcord, so I'm working my way down the foot. Nothing really new there. Just work on it a little bit every day. I add a couple rows. So, pretty mindless. And then, I don't think there's really anything else I've added on. I didn't really add any on my granny square blankets, so that's that.
I'm only working on one thing actively, and that is my Mint Rain Design socks. They are in the Pitch Perfect colorway, and it is on her BFL sock base. It is 25% superwash BFL and 25% nylon. And here is her Etsy shop.
She graciously both gifted us a skein to review.
Yes. And this is my sock. I have one sock done, and, well, minus the heel. And then I am working on this one. So I'm really happy because this is my first set of self-striping socks that I have actually cast on the second one for. So I'm really liking this. You really should check out her shop. She is a wonderful person and dyer as well, so go support her. I really like this space, and she's gonna get my money soon. I'm trying to be more mindful about my budget because I don't know if I had mentioned this last time, but my boss was like, you're not getting any kind of increase in pay for the next 2 years. So
Nice.
that was a real chipper conversation she had with all of us employees. That's all I got to say about that.
No wonder why they're dropping like flies. I can't talk today. Flies. Lies. Show title. Lies. Anyway.
All right.
F. Lies. So, what's in rehearsal? I actually do have something. I told you, I've been telling you for weeks that I do want to cast on something with a skein of my twisted fiber art. And I was going to just randomly pick between my 3 skeins, but then I decided the first skein I got was at YarnCon last year. Andy picked it out. Andy's picked out all of the skeins from them because he loves their stuff. And they're just wonderful over there. And so I said, you know what? YarnCon 2016 is coming up right around the corner. And I would really love to have used the yarn from YarnCon last year, if not have it already done up. So we picked up a matching pattern to go with it. This is, I'm going to be knitting Midnight Ocean by Louise Sass Bingham. And I have not knit anything by her yet. It looks like this. The nice thing that they have done is they've given a little slip of paper, so they've given the Twisted Fiber Arts modification of the pattern. So when we saw it compared to what the pattern's actually written for, because the yardage is a little bit different and things like that, so that I can knit it according to the shop sample. And the yarn I'm going to be using is Twisted Fiber Art, Gypsy Evolution. Oh, I'm sorry. The yarn is Ariel. It's a large evolution. It's 680 yards of 100% superwash merino in the colorway Gypsy. Which looks like that. Woo! That's a little bit better.
It's gorgeous.
So, I'm excited to start working with this. I gotta figure out where the center is. I want to work from the center. There it is. Found it.
Very cool.
So, I'll be casting that on soon since I finished that commission knit.
I plan on casting on the Handbrake cowl in Fiber Nymph's Cozy Base in the Soft Kitty colorway this week. I wanted to get my Edison shawl done, and then the Handbrake cowl won't take all that long to finish, and I think I can get it done in time for our gifted pattern cowl. Thank you. And so if you are unfamiliar with this cowl started on January 1st. Your projects must have been casted on or after January 1st. And we are wrapping the cowl up on January 31st.
February 29th, right? No.
Nope. It's
It's only
month.
one? Oh, okay.
We might talk after this and see if thinking
I thought it was 2 months, but I could be totally wrong. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So we will get back to you on that. We'll post it in the thread.
No, it's the end of the month. You're setting
Yeah,
up the
I was
interlock,
like,
so...
Okay.
Sorry.
So it's going to be at the end of the month of January. So January 31. And we will close the thread on probably... I'm not going to stay up till midnight. I'm going to just tell you that because that's a Sunday. And Monday I'm going to be super busy. So I will close the thread on Monday morning. It can be any base of yarn. It can be any pattern that you've been gifted. If you've not been gifted a pattern through Ravelry, then it can be any pattern from a book or a magazine, and those don't necessarily have to be in your possession. They could be the library's books or magazines. So we've made it a very pretty loose cowl. And if you use any base of Leading Men Fiber Arts, then you can enter your finished object in the finished object thread twice. If you don't, then you get one post per finished object. So we've got a couple of really, really pretty finished objects right now. So hopefully that number will grow. And I think that because this week will be busy but not unbearable, I think I will get mine done in plenty of time. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Behind the scenes, what am I spinning? I am spinning Leading Men Fiber Arts, BFL Silk in the Swamp Thing colorway, and then I'm also spinning Leading Men Fiber Arts Polworth in the Dreamweaver colorway, and I'm spinning each as a single, and I'm going to two-ply them together. So I'm going to get the Swamp Weaver skein. I did finish the Swamp Thing, and I'm working on Dreamweaver right now, so trying to finish up these last few stitches. There we go. Here's the BFL Silk, spun up like a dream. This is Swamp Thing. Loving it. Not spinning it super thin. Excuse me. Can't take a nap today. Gotta go back to work tomorrow. And here is the Polworth in the Dreamweaver colorway that I'm currently spinning. Kind of looks like cotton candy. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. It'll be barber poled all the way through consistently. So I'll let you know more about that next week. Cool. All right. What are we watching and reading? Let's start with what we're watching. I finished the 5th season of American Horror Story, which was Hotel, starring Lady Gaga. Again, I was a little disappointed with this season. I felt like there were way too many storylines that, in the end, I didn't really care that they were somewhat wrapped up, some weren't. It was like, this happened, how does this just go away and no one ever, this thing happened, this major thing, and then it goes away and no one, it's never brought up, no cops show up, you know what I mean? Just,
yeah.
There were some big plot holes in the storyline. So, it seemed like they did a lot with the hotel itself and then bringing in a lot of names, and then the rest of the budget probably went to Lady Gaga and her wardrobe. So, it is what it is. Did I enjoy it? It was a fun ride. It is what it is. Andy and I finished season 3 of House of Cards. Left off with a big cliffhanger, so I'm excited to see where the show picks up. Hopefully, I think it comes out season 4 on Netflix next month. Still watching Once Upon a Time. I'm in season 3. Again, campy as all get out. You've got to take it with a grain of salt, but got to go along for the ride, quite literally. And then I did watch the 2nd episode of Teachers. I talked at length about this last week, but I did enjoy this week. It was all about, it's called School Pictures. All the teachers had to be perfect, and of course nothing goes right. So thought it was funny, laughed out loud several times. So I can't wait to see where the season goes. So I know it's been talked up a lot, so definitely check it out on TV Land.
Hefty.
And movies. Andy and I did watch Avengers Age of Ultron last night. We both thought the storyline was lacking. There was not a whole lot to it. And, there was, but then there was almost too much, and then we both didn't really care for it. We thought we were a little bored with it. We finished it, but... So anyway, over to you, Callie.
So... I haven't really been watching anything of, particular greatness, but I do love my VH1 reality TV shows so much. And this season of Love and Hip Hop, excuse me, has been interesting. I mainly watch just to see the foolery that is Peter Gunn and his love between Tyra and Amina. And this week was no disappointment there. So, it is what it is. And then Mob Wives, I was telling my mom because we both love the show. It's the same storyline, and we're fans of Drita, so everybody has been pitted against, or doesn't like Drita this season, and we were like, nah, I don't really care about those other characters or people. And so we'll see how it goes. But it's called the final stand, so it's the final season for the entire series. So it is what it is. It just started 3 weeks ago, so who knows? Still early in the season.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
I did finish a book this week. I finished The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. I really enjoyed this book, so I'm going to read you the synopsis and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts. So, first of all, I did read it because it is one of my selections for my classes to read for silent reading time. Another teacher and myself, we, instead of giving kids unlimited options of what they could read, we do read first 10 minutes of class period, silent reading. We narrowed it down to 6 options, trying something different, and it seems to be working much better. So I had not read this one yet. I've heard good things, so we added it to our list. Here's the quick synopsis. Christopher John Francis Boone knows all the countries of the world and their capitals and every prime number up to 7,057. He relates well to animals but has no understanding of human emotions. He cannot stand to be touched, and he detests the color yellow. Although gifted with a superbly logical brain, for 15-year-old Christopher, everyday interactions and admonishments have little meaning. He lives on patterns, rules, and a diagram kept in his pocket. Then, one day, a neighbor's dog, Wellington, is killed, and his carefully constructive universe is threatened. Christopher sets out to solve the murder in the style of his favorite logical detective, Sherlock Holmes. What follows makes for a novel that is funny, poignant, and fascinating in its portrayal of a person whose curse and blessing are a mind that perceives the world entirely literally. So, basically, Christopher suffers from Asperger's, which is a form of autism, and it's written from his perspective, and he's writing a novel about his investigation of this dead dog. Now, it's not the most action-packed novel, but there's drama, there is emotion, all these characters around him, and there's only a few. His mom, his dad, mainly his mom and his dad, and a few other people, are just overflowing with emotion and emotional issues, and he cannot relate to any of it. He doesn't understand it. That's part of the symptoms of his condition, is he doesn't understand human emotion. He doesn't get sarcasm. He doesn't get, metaphors, things like that, symbolism. He doesn't understand it. His brain cannot grasp it. And so it's very interesting to get a book written from the perspective, the character's perspective of somebody suffering from this illness. And so for that respect, I thought it was extremely interesting. I do know that they made it into a play for Broadway, which I think would be really interesting, what you could do on stage with, telling that story from that perspective. So I highly recommend it. It came out in, when did it come out? 2004, so it's been out for a while. If you haven't read it, I'd say give it a shot. I do have a lot of my kids reading it, so check it out. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. So,
what's your kiddos' reaction to the book?
The couple who have talked with me about it, they're just like, "Did you get to this point where this happened?" Because there's some major plot twists, and they're just like, "Nah, no," So, even though it's not action packed, there's intrigue and things like that. So.
Are these kids that normally read, or are they the ones getting excited about it?
The 2 that have really stuck out to me about this particular book, one's an honors student, and the other one is one of the brighter ones in my regular class. So Yes, no, I don't. I don't really know what their reading habits are like at home, but
the reason why I ask is because I think the right book or series of books can really change a kiddo's perspective on reading. And I was thinking about this last week or the week before when the gentleman that played Snape in the Harry Potter movies, Rick. Anyhow, the guy that played played Snape in Harry Potter. I know his name I can see his face. But anyways, I was thinking about how vast J.K. Rowling's impact has been on the world of literature. Because when I was younger, YA was not of the best selection, and now you've got all of these really great YA authors coming out with really good and interesting books, and it's getting kids to read. And she had...
I don't know if this is YA though. It can be read by young, but
right.
I don't know I would classify it as a young adult book though.
But I think though, her series of books took so long to come out, you know what I'm saying? So the people that were reading it, either, a lot of YA authors that I have encountered in my current readings have been younger, have been around my age, and would have been directly affected by the Harry Potter series. And, whether that encouraged them to write or not, or, there's so many what ifs and, thoughts on this. And I was just pondering it while I was driving one day. So, I started a book, and it was called The Girls of Ames. And I did not like it, so I put it down. So, I'm reading another book called Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And I'm about 10 pages in. It's an interesting book, the way that it's told. So, I'm curious as to what will happen. I know that it has been a huge bestseller and has been talked about widely, so I'm excited about that. And I'm also reading the second in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. So I'm looking forward to finishing those two books up. So that's all I'm reading.
All right. We have a book review for you this week.
We do. And we were generously gifted this book. It is Billie Jane Knits Mittens. And I would say Steve and I both really like a lot of these patterns in this book. And this has been widely reviewed in the last month or so.
It's put out and published through Cooperative
Yes.
Press. You can get the book directly on Ravelry, the ebook, for $16.95. If you are interested in getting a physical copy, because this would be a great coffee table book. The photography is very nice. You can get it. You can no longer buy directly through Cooperative Press, but you can get it through Amazon, the physical copy of the book, for $26.95. That being said, if you do get the physical copy, you no longer get the coupon code on the inside to get the digital copy. So just be aware of that.
There are 13 mitten patterns in here. Like a lot of her patterns before, these are all in a wide range of geometric shapes and different stylings. So whenever I look at Billie Jane mitts, I know that there's going to be color work, but she does it in such an interesting and new breath of life into the patterns. This is an overview of just some of the patterns. Oh, pickles. You can kind of get the idea. So, Steve, you were saying that you had queued up something like 7 or 8 of these.
Yeah, I have 7 of them that I've queued for myself to eventually knit that I really liked. And there were other ones that I liked, but just I couldn't see myself particularly making. But
when I was getting ready to come over and thinking about what I wanted to say about this book is there was a lot of knit-alongs for previous books, like when Cookie A came out with her new sock book, there was a Cookie A knit-along, and different other books have done a knit-along. I think this would be fun to work through the whole book as one of those knit-alongs. There's two different style of thumbs. There's a gusseted and there's a peasant thumb, and she goes on to describe the difference between each. And
peasant thumb,
yes.
You might consider like an afterthought thumb, where you're, like on my sock, you put the ripcord in, and then you go back and you put those live stitches back on the needle. I know some people don't like the peasant thumb because they like the extra room of the gusset, and they feel like the peasant thumb sits a little too far back on the hand. But she does give directions on how you could modify these colorwork patterns into have a gusset. That being said, there's only one pattern, I believe, in this book that does have the gusseted thumb, and it's not a very intricate colorwork pattern. But she does give you the knowledge on how you could modify them.
There's a lot of different tutorials in here, both explaining the both different thumbs as well as doing duplicate stitch, some different embellishing techniques as well. So, besides the patterns, there's a great wealth of knowledge in this book as well. And this is the first pattern. They're called the Plain Blue Mitts, and it is knit with the peasant thumb. These are fingerless mitts.
And there's a little bit of two-color knitting, the stranded knitting. Yeah. At the transition of the colors, but the nice thing is, if you're new, you can almost build skills through this book, because you can learn how, if you don't know how to read a chart, you could read. There's a nice color-coded chart for this where it would be easier to follow along and learn how to read a chart and do transition colors and hold two colors at the same time. So kind of a good starter, build your skills before you go for that masterpiece.
Yeah. And that pattern came in a size medium and large, and the bulk of these patterns come in 3 different sizes. So if you have smaller hands or that, then there's something in there for you. And the next pattern is the plain brown mitts, and they are with a gusset thumb.
Like I said, I think this is the only one that has a gusset, and there's not a whole lot of, it's just striping. There's no color work to it or stranded knitting.
Yeah. Again, the charts are very clear to read, and the next pattern is Nougat. I think I'm saying that right.
I think that's how you say it too.
I was thinking candy when I was like the chocolate nougat. I really, really like these mitts, and they were actually my number one choice of mitts in this whole book. So.
And see, I didn't cue these ones; they just didn't speak to me. But
I like it, and I think the color choice has a lot to do with that. And again, the charts are. See, and I liked it because of this detail shot.
What you'll notice, too, with a lot of her patterns is you have a specific pattern on the front of the hand, and then there's a more intricate, less carry floats, smaller runs of color on the inside of the palm. So it's not just, the same pattern all the way through. It changes up. It also becomes, at least from my color work experience, those smaller color runs can be a little bit quicker and easier if it's just like, oh, every other stitch is a different color. Okay, and I just got to do that across the needle.
Yeah. This next pattern is called Midtown.
And I did like these ones. She does give a little paragraph at the beginning of every pattern about the inspiration. This one came from the
New York subway ventilation gratings.
Yep. So she said she looked down one day and she saw the geometric design on the gratings, and it inspired these mittens. So it's very Art Nouveau.
You can see a little bit of a detail with the thumb there too. And then the next pattern is under the hostas, and these are gnome patterns. And I like her intro to this. gnomes are mostly harmless and mostly well-meaning, but there's just something about, say, an open tub of cinnamon butter that your average gnome cannot resist having a tread through. So these are really cute and whimsical.
And I did think these are cute. I didn't see myself knitting them, but I just have not bad, but just childhood memories of hostas. Like, they were always around my house growing up, and you couldn't kill them off. And, like, they just overgrown, and you give them to people, and it's like...
You start with one hosta.
And it just never ends. Oh, do you take a ball? Do you take a... No, seriously, it's going to either go in the garbage.
Yeah. The only thing that I really like a lot of the colors choices in this. I did not like this pattern. And I think maybe it's just the way that it's photo, like the photo itself. But I really wish there was a high contrast in the gnome's body. Because to me, when you're kind of looking at it far away, it kind of looks like floating Santa heads. So that was one of my complaints. Oops. The next pattern is codfish.
I liked these ones.
Yes.
I thought they were cute. Again, that whimsical, but it's kind of like you don't get it right away. Maybe if the cuff goes back just a little bit, you get it. But
I really liked that pattern. I like the high contrast that it is. The next pattern is cupcake mittens. And
this is what I know Spilly Jane for. This is probably one of her most popular patterns, if not the most. This takes a lot of different colors. They're very intricate. It's all the same patterning, but you change out the colors. Not for me, but very cute all the same.
And then you can see the thumb detail on this. I don't know why, but this was another complaint of mine. I kind of wish the thumb was a little bit more with the pattern and not just stripes, but it is what it is. The next pattern is Decadence, and it was inspired by Art Nouveau, the Art Nouveau movement.
And I did cue these. I don't really remember why. I think they're interesting. I don't know if they were my favorite, but I thought they were very gender neutral.
Yeah. I think it would be really pretty in a different color set, too. Mm-hmm. The next pattern is Petoskey, and they're fossilized remnants of ancient coral beds that have been tumbled by the waves of Lake Michigan for millions of years. That's what inspired the pattern.
And I cued these. These are the first ones that I cued. I did like the geometric shape. Very unisex.
Mm-hmm. The next pattern is the girl with the prefabricated heart, and this is, I would say, I like the idea of these, and I wish the colors were just slightly different.
I know Sadie from the Yarnivore podcast is knitting a pair of these right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. I think it's very steampunkish, very kind of out there, a little bit quirky, but again, not for me. Maybe if somebody requested them, but...
The next pattern is Penguin Mitts, and
I like these.
Love these.
I cued these as well. Again, you can't tell right away or from afar, but then you're like, are those... I think those are penguins.
I don't remember who was showing this on their podcast, but we had not received the book yet, I don't believe. But I was like, what are those? Because I was sort of paying attention while I was knitting, and I was like, wait, let me back that up. And I like the underside of the mitts too. They're really pretty. Abney Park is the next pattern.
I cued these ones as well. I just liked them. They kind of look like stained glass and almost wrought iron fencing on the cuff. This is what it reminds me of. And the pillars on the inside of the hand. It just makes me think of and I don't know if you would say Gothic, but just a very, a a church in England with stained glass and the archways and the wrought iron fence around the old decrepit cemetery. I don't know, like, that's just what pops in my head, so I liked it a lot.
This pattern is wheat fields.
And this is the last one I queued. I just kind of thought it was a little quirky and a little interesting.
I like these mostly because, I mean, my house is surrounded by fields. So, like, we have the people that own the land now don't do wheat in the winter, but the previous owners used to do winter wheat, and it was very pretty. And that's what makes me think of that. So that is all of the patterns in the book. There's graphing paper in the back with eight stitches to the inch to show the different ways that you can make your own pattern mitts. So, and there's, in the small, medium, and large, different thumb gussets. So there's those worksheets that you could, design your own.
Which is really nice of an author to do who's making their money off of designing mitts and saying, hey, I've given you some of the skills. You can give it, your own hand at it. I'm going to still continue to do what I do, but, more power to you. Here's the tools for you to do it as well, which I think says a lot on the part of a designer.
Yeah. And this is Spilly Jane Knits. Her real name is Jane Dupius, I think. But I kind of like seeing who the pattern maker is. So I really, really like this book. And like I said, I think this would be one of those great books that you can knit your way through. And it really does kind of start at the most basic level of mittens to, a very complicated mitten sprinkled throughout. So I really do like this book. If we had not been sent this book, I would have definitely have bought it. So
I give it 2 thumbs up. No pun intended.
Yes. So definitely recommend it.
All right. Let's keep moving right along.
Oh, we will be having a contest for it to win your own copy. So be sure to check out the Ravelry group, and we will post a prompt probably asking you which mittens would you like to make. And bonus, if you have yarn in your stash already, what would you knit them with?
Love to see pictures.
Yeah. And maybe even if they're for you or for a gift. And if they're for a gift, you may be one of the best knitters ever. Because I would not gift these. I would be like,
we like
mine.
Gifted mittens, though, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a pair of codfish mittens.
So, some just generals about that contest, the same as always. You must be a member of our group in order to be eligible to win. 1 post per finish, or 1 post per person, please.
Yes.
And we'll draw for a winner when we record next Sunday.
Yes. And we thank Cooperative Press for donating or giving both of us a copy to review. That was very generous, and we always appreciate the love that you send our way.
And also giving a copy to you guys. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving along into a round of applause. We've already talked about our patterns you've been gifted, knit along. So we do want to encourage you to enter anything you finish in the month of January, no matter when it's been started, into our January 2016 Race to the Finished Object contest. We have 2 wonderful prizes. The first is some Shalimar Breathless Cush yarn, and in the black truffle colorway, along with a little mini ball of Neptune. And then we have a pattern from our featured designer, who is Megan Sanders. So get those finished objects wrapped up in the next week and get them entered. I won't be drawing next Sunday. I think Callie says she's got something going on next weekend, so it'll just be me solo next week. But I won't draw next Sunday because Callie informs me that is the last day of the month.
Yep.
So we'll record when we're back together again.
Yep.
Or draw for prizes.
Yes.
All right. That being said, did you have a new knit-along lined up for February that you wanted to let people know about, since you won't be here next week?
I do. The new knit-along is going to be pinks and reds. And mostly just because it's February and also Single Awareness Day, month, whatever. But I actually really like pink and red anyways. So that's the theme. I am not picky about the percentage system, as long as, there's a definite form of red and pink in there.
Red or pink and pink.
Yes.
And or.
Thank you.
And / or.
No, must knit both. No, just kidding. But it can be whatever pattern. It can be, something small. It can be something big. So yeah, there'll be more information in the thread. If you have any questions, burn me or send me a private message, and I will get that to you.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move into center stage, all things Leading Men Fiber Arts. If you leave us now, we totally understand, and I will see you next week. But if you're going to stick with us, here we go. So I wanted to tell you about 2 new shows that I have permission to now tell you about, that Leading Men Fiber Arts will be vending at this year. Next month, we will be vending at the Knitting Pipeline Retreat. So I've been mentioning that I'm going, but they've officially announced the vendors. So I'm with a slew of other amazing vendors, some returning, some new. So I'm excited to see how that goes. It's always a fun show and very laid back on my part because there's not a whole lot of room. It's not a huge market. It's not a huge time allotment for the market. So it's kind of enjoy the relaxed atmosphere of the retreat and then kind of put some things out. And if people want, they can have. So we're pretty much just going to bring what we have already in the shop, and that'll be it. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do a Knitting Pipeline Retreat colorway for this year. I've done it the past 2 years. I don't know if I've really been inspired by anything this year, colorway wise. So, and I don't want to force it. So, I don't know. Pipeline is still a huge colorway for us, so maybe I'll just do a lot of Pipeline because we sold out of Pipeline last year. I had a good deal of that too, and that was from 2 years ago. So
I think a lot of it is, for a lot of people, that's either their high school colors, their college colors, professional.
And we're not too far away from Chicago and the Chicago Bulls and a little bit of the Cardinals too. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Pipeline is actually, I think I have a skein to show you this week, but it's red, gray, white, and black. So, which is taken off of her logo until I realized that the black was actually brown. But, So, that's that. The second show that I can tell you about is we will be vending at the Fiber event in Greencastle, Indiana, which is the 3rd weekend in April. So it's 2 weeks after YarnCon. As you know, we're going to be at YarnCon in Chicago the 1st weekend in April, the 2nd and 3rd, I think, or somewhere around there. And then 2 weeks after that, we'll be at the Fiber event. So we got the official yay, you're in. They should be updating things here soonly on their website, I hope. So, we're going to have a pretty busy show season. We're still looking for something in September-ish, and maybe 1 or 2 things in September and another thing in October. We have something towards the end of October, but looking to fill in a few more spots. So if you know of anything, I haven't really looked into Wisconsin sheep and wool, just because I didn't want to take the time off that close to the beginning of the school year, but I'm kind of almost like, why not? What are they going to do?
You're tenured.
Yeah, kind of am. So, and especially with an online system. Oh, I'm sick. Yeah, my kids aren't watching this far into the show. They still watch me from time to time, but I'm sure they don't sit through an hour. So, anyway, Knitting Pipeline and the Fiber event. I'm really excited, and hopefully I'll see some of the Indiana folks. I know, I think Joanna of Knit Spin Farm vended there last year. I don't know if she'll be there this year, but I think Amy Beth usually treks out there to go to that event. So, excited. So if you're going to be there, we'll be there. I don't know where yet, but they said, oh, you're in. So that's good.
Cool.
All right. I do want to remind you that you have about a week left, in fact, a week exactly, to pre-order our year in review sets, whether those be mini skeins or full 10 packs, 10 skeins. So here's a mini skein pack of our Showstopper sets. I spent all week making mini skeins again.
Good problem to have.
It is always a good problem to have. So you have a week if you want to order these. These have been really, really big sellers, but we've had a lot of 10 packs going too. So just keep that in mind. The full skein 10 pack option, you get 10% off. It's already worked into the price, so just keep that in mind too if you're interested in that. I know you may have seen it on the Stockinette Zombies. That's been a big push for us. A lot of people have seen it there. Megan ordered a 10 pack, and she said, even if there's a colorway or two she didn't want, she could always gift it to somebody who is their color and whatnot. So, what else? Was there anything else I want to talk about? The Leading Men Fiber Arts group in Ravelry is having a knit along right now called the Totally Tubular Knit Along, where we're knitting tubular cowls. Basically, all that means is you provisionally cast on stitches, knit in the round, and then when you're done, you Kitchener to the two ends together, and you have a double thick cowl. It doesn't need to be any particular pattern, but it must be knit in the round and Kitchener 3-needle bind off, however you're going to connect the two ends so that it's a double thick cowl. Whether it's color work, whether you're striping, whether you're just using one skein, you're doing cables, I don't care, it doesn't bother me, but it does need to be knit in the round. So it's our first knit along with Leading Men Fiber Arts. It must have been cast on or after January 1st and cast off and pictures posted by February 29th, 2016. In order to be eligible to win any prizes, you must be a member of the Leading Men Fiber Arts group on Ravelry, and the yarn must be Leading Men Fiber Arts. I mean, that's kind of only appropriate since it is a Leading Men Fiber Arts knit along. So, all right, let's show you what we've updated to the shop. It's been not necessarily a slow week, but not updating as much. We're still doing a lot of backstock dyeing for show season, so dyeing like the wind. I think Andy counted up, we have a good deal dyed up, but still a lot more to go. He counted up minus fiber and just skeins downstairs. We had about over 1,350 undyed skeins in our basement waiting to go. So
if y'all want to send me a private message, I'm just saying I know where they live.
We've got a lot dyed up already too. So, and I'm excited to tell you about a new product we're going to be carrying starting at YarnCon. So it's not necessarily new, but it kind of is, and I'll tell you more about that as we get closer to YarnCon in April. All right, let's talk fiber. We updated some Falkland. So we've got a couple braids of Dumb Luck. There we go, that's a little bit better. We've got 911 Butterfly. And Perfection. So we've been doing some semi-solids, and they've been going pretty popularly. I never thought they'd really sell, but a lot of people are buying two colors and plying them together like I'm doing, or they want hand spun, but they want to be able to do pattern work with it, with the finished yarn. So, all right, yarn on Box Office, our worsted weight, which is 100% superwash merino, 218 yards. We have Complete Imagination. Now these were out of the same pot. This is how highly unpredictable this colorway is, which makes me a little like, ugh. But it is still a beautiful colorway. So this is Complete Imagination. This was our December colorway of the month. And then I labeled this one light. This one has less of the pink in it. It's just, we dye the skein, we do overwash, we do overlaying of dyeing on the overwash. There's a lot that happens with this colorway. So it's kind of highly unpredictable. So we have Complete Imagination and Complete Imagination Light, even though this is kind of lighter, but is what it is. We have Pipeline on Soliloquy, so this is Pipeline. Soliloquy is 100% superwash BFL, 657 yards to 150 grams, fingering weight. Great for shawls. We have on Dramaturg our DK weight, 250 yards to 115 grams, 100% superwash merino. We have Foliage. On Spotlight, yes, Spotlight is back in stock. We are not dyeing a whole lot for the shop yet because we have to dye all of the back stock for it, but we did get a custom order, so the other skein went in the shop. Of Envy, Spotlight is 100% or 80% superwash BFL, 20% nylon, fingering weight, 400 yards. It's a high twist yarn, great for durable socks. If you have a man in your life or anybody who wears socks in shoes and is easy to put holes in them, I highly recommend Spotlight. The BFL is a little longer lasting than Merino. Last but not least, on Showstopper, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 463 yards, fingering weight, we have Perfection, which is the perfect teal in my mind. So, that is it. Just those little bits of things. We updated a few sock blinks. Those went like that. Those are the kind of the hot ticket, especially since they're one of a kind. People see them and they know they got to grab them. So I may be adding a few more to the shop this week, dyeing a few more too. So just keep an eye out. Best place to follow us, and when we update, we don't do announced updates, would be Instagram under Leading Men Fiber Arts, and our Facebook group, Leading Men Fiber Arts, and our Ravelry group, Leading Men Fiber Arts. So if you have any questions, you can find me as Dramatic Knits on Ravelry. We'd love if you join the Dramatic Knits Ravelry group as well. And if you're watching on iTunes, please leave a star rating or a written review. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, where you can find us as well, we'd love for you to subscribe and to give us the thumbs up for this show. If you enjoyed the show, show the love. And lastly, you can always find the show at our website, which is dramaticknits.com. So, until next week when I'm flying solo,
we hope you
knit something dramatic.